bo ab'emmotoka bagayitamu kyokka nga ababoodaboda bagayitamu mu ngeri ya kutunda mwoyo ng'enkoko emireensanaku. Olwasaliddwako amazzi luva Myanzi ne luyiteeka Sanda olwo ne lweyongerayo ebukuya mpaka Kiboga. Abatuuze mu bitundu bino bawanjagidde gavumenti eveeyo bataase ku mazzi agabafuukidde ekyambika.
Naddala okusinga Pulezidenti Museveni gutusuubira okuwa akalulu ajja atukolera oluguudo twagala lwa koolaasi
ne omubaka waffe naye talina byatuteeseza
mubaka ki
Godfrey Lubega abaye bakana bwe basitulu tewali amanyi.
Mu mwaka oguwedde omugga gwe gumu guno gwabaguza era abaana babiri be balusulamu akaba bwe baali bagezaako okugayitamu.
Mu birala, enteekateeka ez'okuwandiika bannayuganda okufuna endagamuntu oba density zikyali mu kigoye weezinge ng'oggyeeko abaaweebwa obuvunaanyizibwa okukola omulimu guno okutolotooma nga bwe batasasulwa. Ebikozesebwa nabyo birabika nga bitaddewo kiremya. Erakai Kamuswaga ng'ono ye mukulembeze w'essaza ly'e Kooki katono alema okwewandiisa olw'ebyuma okulema okukola gwabyo.
Kamuswaga w'e Kooki Apollo Sansa Kabumbuli owokubiri olunaku lwajjo yagenze ku kitebe kya district Erakai okwewandiisa okufuna density. Kyokka ebintu tebyatambudde bulungi. Ebyuma byekyanze ne birema okukwata ekinkumu ky'omukulu ono. Wabaddewo obunkenke abakola ogw'okuwandiika abantu nga bagezaako okukaka kompyuta okukola naye nga buteerere. Ekyuma kyagaanidde ddala okukakana nga Kamuswaga atadde omukono gwe wansi ku lupapula.
Kugamba fingerprints zirwawo waliwo olwerwawo kuzidetectinga naye ekirungi ekyeyina nti mu sisitimu yaayo bateekamu options nnyingi. Tulina omuntu asayininga
naye nga omanya ekyuma tokibeera mu tomanya kiringa emmotoka kiringa ne other machine nti esobola okuba nga efunyemu akantu katono. Ennaku zino tulina virus.
Omukulu ono yakunze bannayuganda bonna okujjumbira enteekateeka eno wabula n'asaba gavumenti okugitandikira mu baana abazaalibwa nga bwe guli mu mawanga agaakuledda.
Naddala bannaffe abazungu ekintu kino baakikola dda era bakikola ng'omwana yakazaalibwa bw'ati n'afuna ennamba emutambuza mu bulamu bwe.
Okuwandiika bannayuganda okufuna density kugenda mu maaso wadde nga kulabikiddemu emikoosi egiwera. Buli aweza emyaka 16 n'okudda waggulu yakkirizibwa okwewandiisa mu nkola eno eyatandika ku ntandikwa y'omwaka guno.
NTV akawungezi kwetuli. Omukama wa Tooro oyo nnyimba Kabamba Iguru owokuna agamba nti tatudde kuba kino kyekiseera okulaakulanya obukama bwakulembera. Omukulembeze ono kati agenda atalaga ebitundu by'ensi ng'awayamu n'abantu, ebitongole, amawanga n'ebibuga ebigundiivu batte emikago egy'enkolagana okusobola okusiga ensimbi n'enkulaakulana. Ernst Wisdom Chionga yabadde Vietnam wamu n'omukama.
Emirundi mingi omuntu wayogera ku Vietnam bangi bafuna ekifaananyi ky'ensi eyayuzaayuzibwa entalo. Kino kiva ku sinema ezayatiikirira ennyo wakati w'egy'ensanvu n'egy'ekyenda. Wabula kyewuunyisa nti yadde Vietnam yalwana entalo naddala mu gy'ensanvu kati y'emu ku nsi ezeegombesa. Baakubiri mu kulima n'okutunda ebinyeebwa, emmwanyi n'omuceere mu nsi yonna, so nga Abavietnam ebitundu 94 ku 100 babugumyeko. Vietnam y'emu ku nsi ezisinga okukulira ku misinde egyayiriri mu nsi yonna naddala mu byenfuna. Sabbiiti ewedde omukama wa Tooro oyo nnyimba Kabamba Iguru Lukidi owokuna yabadde Vietnam n'ateesa n'ab'ekitongole kyayo eky'ebyobusuubuzi ki Vietnam Chamber of Commerce ng'ayagala batte omukago naddala mu kusuubulagana, obulimi n'okusiga ensimbi.
To have a relationship with Vietnam on the agricultural side.
Yes.
amyuka president wa Vietnam Chamber of Commerce Hong Van Dang agamba nti kino bakirinda dda kuba go amawanga agabalinaanye gatandika dda okukolagana nabo.
We have to have a relationship first in order for you to send your people to tour? Or
No,
we can go
you
ahead?
just send an invitation letter and then our chamber can organize that.
Okay.
Natere Vietnam, omukama wa Toro n'abakungu be basisinkanye meya w'ekibuga ekikulu Hanoi ekijjudde ebizimbe gali kwoleka bizinensi engundiivu n'enguudo zimwasanjala omutali yadde akannya. Meya wa Hanoi agamba nti ddala kituufu okwegatta g'emaanyi era teyaludde n'abategeeza nti bwe taba ntaanye etta amenvu enkolagana ya Namaddala ne Toro teri wala.
In my opinion, I would very glad to have that cooperation.
Omukama n'abakungu be bagamba nti singa aba Vietnam basiga ensimbi mu Toro kyakuyamba nnyo obukama Uganda n'amawanga gatuliraanye omuli obukadde bw'abantu obukunukkiriza mu 350. Obukama bwenyumiriza nnyo mu byobuwangwa n'obulambuzi abeeru bye bettanira ennyo. Ernest Wisdom Kiyonga, NTV akawungeezi.
Webale nnyo Ernest Wisdom Kiyonga. Bwetuddako eri ku ggulire twakutegeezezza okuva e Luweero, omukulembeze w'eggwanga Yoweri Kaguta Museveni alagidde poliisi e Luweero okukwata abo bonna abazze beenyigira mu bikolwa eby'okutwalira amateeka mu ngalo. Pulezidenti agamba nti afunye okutegeezebwa nga bwe waliwo bannabyabufuzi naddala ababali ku ludda oluvuganya ne gavumenti abaliko abantu be batuusizzaako obuvune saako okumenya mayumba. Museveni abadde Zirobwe ng'anoonyeza munna NRM Rebecca Nalwanga akalulu ate nga ye yali omumyuka we Professor Gilbert Bukenya akalulu asiibye akanoonyeza munna DP Brenda Nabukenya. Ono alagudde nti Nabukenya akalulu agenda kukawuuta buva.
Okusooka omukulembeze w'eggwanga atadde ku nninga atwala poliisi mu kitundu kino amunnyonnyole ku kiki yakoze ku bantu abatwalira amateeka mu ngalo.
Who is this who is beating Ugandans that you don't take action? Found the action already taken. What action is that? To arrest them and take them to court. Those people were arrested? Some were arrested, some are not yet. Not yet? Where have they gone? They are checking. They are, with intelligence, we are going to get all of them, sir. Huh? With intelligence, we are going to get, because they escaped, we are going to get. I don't want to hear this anymore. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Pulezidenti Museveni agamba nti ekyogenda mu maaso nga bakola effujjo mu by'okulonda kiba kimenya amateeka era nga poliisi esaana okukirwanyisa.
DPC saagala kuwulira ene even okuvuma ovumi, forget about beating. Omuntu yenna gwe banaavuma reportinga mu poliisi.
Alagidde nti ennyumba z'abantu zonna ezaayonoonebwa zirina okuddizibwawo bannabyabufuzi abali ku ludda oluvuganya gavumenti.
Now these houses which have been destroyed, they must be paid for by the opposition. They must build these houses.
Museveni era atabukidde akakiiko k'ebyokulonda kagamba nti kalemereddwa okukangavula bannabyabufuzi abakozesa olulimi olw'obulimba.
Bafudde ebyomuzannyo. Sikyayagala muzannyo guno gugende mu maaso.
Ate ye yaliko omumyuka wa Pulezidenti Gilbert Bukenya atuukiriza ekisuubizo kye eky'okunoonyeza Nabukenya akalulu bweyegasse ku banna-DP olwaleero e Luweero. Bukenya yategeezezza nti okwegattako oludda oluvuganya gavumenti kiraga buwanguzi eri omuntu waabwe.
Tuddire ekisika ekinene ekiri mu luguudo tukijjawo. Tukikola ki? Abeeruwero mwe mutandise ekisika tujja kikola ki?
Olwaleero okwenja akalulu bwe kukomekezeddwa mu disitulikiti y'e Luweero era ng'okulonda kwakubaawo ku lunaku lwokuna. Ko akakiiko k'ebyokulonda kagala bonna abeetabye mu kulonda kuno okukuuma emirembe. Julius Senkandwa, NTV.
Bantegeezezza nti agakava e Luweero galaga nga poliisi bwekubye ttiya gaasi ogugumbula abawagizi ba Brenda Nabukenya mu lukuŋŋaana lwe olusembyeyo lwakubye mu Luweero Town Council. Ebisingawo tugenda bibatuusaako mu NTV Tonight ku ssaawa 3. Ssaawa eno katulabe akatale k'ensimbi nga bwe kayimiridde mu bibanda eby'enjawulo. Akatale k'ensimbi kakutuusibwako
Insurance Company of East Africa, ICEA, standing by you. matter what happens to your car, we will always come to your rescue with our motor insurance cover. We are behind you all the way. Insurance Company of East Africa, ICEA, standing by you.
NTV akawungezi tugenda kummulamu katono nnyo tavaawo tulina ekitundu eky'ebyemizannyo. Mu mizannyo olwaleero Ande Mwesigwa aduumira ttiimu ya Uganda Cranes agamba nti obutafuna budde kutendekerwa wamu nga ttiimu ekiseera ekimala yemu ku nsonga yabaviiriddeko okuwangulwa Madagascar mu mupiira gwe baasambye Sande ewedde. Wabula agumiza Bannayuganda nti ensobi ezaakoleddwa ku bugenyi Madagascar baakuzitereeza bawangule omupiira oguddako ennamboole ng'ennaku z'omwezi 30 omwezi guno.
Kapteni wa Uganda Cranes Ande Mwesigwa yeegatta ku banne Nairobi nga bali mu lugendo lw'e Madagascar agamba nti ensonga eyasinga okuyamba Madagascar okubawangula yali abazannyi butakwatagana bulungi. Kino kyava ku bazannyi obutafuna budde bumala okutendekerwa awamu ate nga mu bo mwalimu abazannyi abapya.
Akati for example nga goalkeeper gunzi na training nayo lunaku lumu ne tusamba game so nsubira partnership eba tesobola combination eba tesobola kola ki kujja mu lunaku lumu naye nga nze nine suubi nti mpira ogwo batukuba si wasajja ab'amaanyi ennyo newankubadde nabo balina ka history kaabwe waka nti waka babeera bazibu era nsubira ne Egypt beba witnesses.
Abazannyi abasooka okuzannyira ttiimu enkulu ku olwo mwalimu omukwasi wa ggoolo Ismail Wetenga, omuzibizi Kalida Awucho n'omuteebi Francis Olaki. Wadde ng'ebyo biri bityo Mwesigwa era agamba nti nga ttiimu omupiira gwabasobako ekyabaviirako okubwa ggoolo ez'amangu ng'omupiira gwakatandika.
Ekisinga ddala okulaga nti mu ddakiika 6 ntubanga tukonsirize goals 2 ekiragira ddala nti twalina obunafu bw'amaanyi nnyo ttiimu yonna awamu.
Mu mupiira guno era Mwesigwa yafuniramu obuvune ku mutwe bw'asuubira nti bujja kuba buwonye we banaddinganira ne Madagascar nga 3 omwezi guno mu kisaawe Namboole. Ttiimu yakuddamu okutendekebwa olunaku lw'enkya naye nga Mwesigwa ne Dan Serunku masiba akubeerawo. Bano bombi bajja kuba bazzeeyo mu kiraabu zaabwe gye bazanyira ogw'ensimbi naye nga bakudda okusamba ogw'okuddiŋŋana. Sam Mpoza, NTV akawungeezi.
Katika tulabe entebereza y'obudde olunaku olw'enkya ate nkomewo nkusibule.
New Mortin Doom Power Guard. Nothing kills faster and keeps killing for longer. New Mortin Doom Power Guard. Nothing kills faster and keeps killing for longer.
NTV akawungeezi bangambye nti akadde katuweddeko eddakiika 41 eziyise ku ssaawa emu. Tuddemu nate enkya musule bulungi mweraba.
NTV, turning on your world.
Sometimes children have amazing ideas, but they can lead to tough stains. And for tough stains, there's new Omo Fast Action. Its super fast cleaning technology removes stains fast. New Omo removes tough stains fast.
Program Guide.
Today's highlight with
Nice and Lovely Body Lotion.
Polygamy has been legalized across the border in Kenya. Should the same practice be implemented in Uganda in the spirit of the East African community?
Now you're taking your girls to the most expensive schools, all right? And now the next thing you know, they are third wives.
Let them go out there, as long as at the end of the day, there's food on your table and your children go to good schools and you're comfortable.
You bring out the best in me. New and improved Nice and Lovely Body Lotion. The 24-hour skin moisturizer that's your skin's best friend. The best in me.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week? I say they're shopping. Me, I'd be looking to sell. At what price? More. Much, much more. I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
A very good morning to you this Wednesday, the 21st of May. Thank you for joining us here on Morning at NTV. I woke up today feeling very patriotic, asking myself, what can I, as Mebo, do for my country? How can I help government in doing its job? And I thought to myself, I said, maybe I should get more involved in my community. Well, welcome to the show. A challenge I'd like to put to you as well. What do you think you can do today to become more involved in your community? Or how can you help government in doing doing its job instead of us just waiting for government to come to our aid and help us. Anyway, today we have a power-packed show as usual, the press review, everyday life, sport, and not forgetting the big story with Simon Kasiate. So let's kick the show off with our question of the day. Who scored the only goal Uganda was able to get against Madagascar? If you're among the first 5 people to respond with the correct answer, you stand a chance of winning a Morning at Ntv cup with which you can enjoy your morning chai as you watch the best breakfast show in town. Well, moving on to the stories making news now, the Chief of Defence Forces, General Katumba Wamala, has re-echoed the need to establish and deploy the IGAD neutral force in war-torn South Sudan if the ceasefire deal that was signed in Addis is to hold. General Mala, who was addressing the press at the Army headquarters in Mbuya, also reaffirmed that the UPDF, although not involved in any military combat, will not leave South Sudan until the neutral force is in charge.
On the 9th of May, South Sudan President Salva Kiir and rebel leader Riek Machar inked a ceasefire deal that was expected to end the fighting in the war-torn nation. But just days after the deal was signed, reports of fresh fighting continue to emerge in Bentry town and Unity State, which has cast doubt on whether the ceasefire agreement will indeed be implemented. Uganda's Chief of Defence Forces General Katumba Wamala has called for force that will ensure that both rival parties honor the temporary deal.
Well, I think that for the ceasefire to hold, in my view, it would need that IGAD intervention force to be in place. That's when these people respect that ceasefire. Otherwise, I think the possibilities of the ceasefire being violated time and again are very high without somebody standing there to say, you guys, no nonsense. You said you stop fighting, this is your line, stop here and don't move again.
During a recent interview with the BBC, rebel leader Riek Machar demanded that the UPDF be withdrawn from South Sudan as a means of honoring the ceasefire agreement.
Is Salva Kiir the commander-in-chief of the Ugandan People's Defence Forces? Is he? Has he withdrawn them? Because Museveni is not accepting the cessation of hostilities.
However, General Wamala has fired back at Machar, reaffirming that the UPDF forces will stay in South Sudan until a neutral force is deployed.
If anybody has strong ground to ask for our exit, it's the government of South Sudan. And I would challenge Riek Machar to produce evidence that Uganda has been anywhere near where the battles are right now in the Unity State or in the Upper Nile.
Katumba denied the allegations that the UPDF is siding with President Salva Kiir's regime. He, however, maintained that the force's mandate in South Sudan is legit.
Our position remains very, very clear that what we wanted was to create an enabling environment for both parties to be able to talk to each other. We still remain focused on that, and that's what we believe.
On internal security affairs, General Wamala said that the army has joined the police to curb any possible terror threats.
Our intelligence and our institutions work together very closely. The army, the police, the prison, and all the security agencies. We are knitting the way we do business.
The army has also handed over the mantle of protection against cattle rustling in Karamoja sub-region to the police, saying that the vice has been significantly reduced. The UPDF will now concentrate on securing borders. Solomon Serwanja, NTV.
In the growing face of increased terror threats in the region, Uganda continues to grapple with a lack of infrastructure, equipment and information management systems at border crossing points. This according to Gerald White, Uganda's chief of mission at the International Organization for Migration, who was speaking at the launch of the Integrated Border Management Project aimed at tackling the protracted border points problems.
The police have issued several terror alerts since the July 2011 twin bombings that killed many people in Kampala. That terror attack jolted Uganda's security force into stepping up its surveillance. Some of the busy border towns like Malaba, Busia, Gatuna and Mutukula have since seen a change in security measures. But the country still has many porous border points which wrongdoers enter through to wreak havoc. An official from the Internal Affairs Ministry who declined to appear on camera told NTV that the entire Karamoja area that separates Uganda from Kenya has no border post.
Since the world has become borderless, a threat to one means a threat to all. In other words, vulnerable borders in Uganda can also affect even Japan. For instance, two cases of illegal drug trafficking from Uganda were discovered in Japan about 2 years ago.
I think that the project Strengthening Border Management in Uganda addresses well the complexity and the multi-agency, multi-entity nature of the challenges which face the Ugandan border today.
Terrorism is increasingly becoming fickle and also sophisticated, and it remains a global threat. And for any economy to soar, every country must guarantee the security of their people and also property. Now, with Uganda having only 4 vehicles doing surveillance across all the border points, how far will it go in the fight against this crime?
You don't have to be physically there to ensure your security. Security can be intelligence-led. Security can be led by use of sophisticated equipment. So all this is being done in combination.
The State Minister for Internal Affairs says one of the biggest challenges in tightening security at borders is inadequate funding.
I'm also aware that there is technology that exists that can be used to police porous borders without physical presence, but these technologies are very expensive.
James Baba says his ministry hopes this state of affairs will change in the next financial year. According to records from the Customs Department, the government collects a non-tax revenue of close to 7 billion shillings annually from various border points.
For the situation, I can compare it where someone has a cow, wants to milk it, but at the same time starve it. Is that exactly what the government is doing?
We are, as a ministry, getting a portion of that NTR through appropriation.
The ministry is also still expecting 27 billion shillings from the government to facilitate the issuance of biometric passports. The project is scheduled to start later this year.
You need the equipment, you need the passport booklets. The electronic passports will have chips inside with all the data. So this is what we are working on.
This comes on the heels of a terror alert that was reportedly issued by UN security officials about terrorists planning to shoot civilians caught up in traffic jams in Uganda. The officials hope the Integrated Border Management Project that was launched today will go a long way in tightening security around the country's entry points. Sudil Biaruhanga, NTV.
Police fired water cannons and tear gas to disperse an opposition rally at Kasana playgrounds in Luwero district. The campaigns for the woman parliamentary seat in the final stretch ahead of voting on May 22nd and has also seen the former Vice President Gilbert Bukenya join the opposition to campaign for the DP candidate Brenda Nabukenya. Court ordered for a by-election in March after it found that electoral procedures were flawed.
At the time of police's action, the Kampala Capital City Authority Lord Mayor Arias Lukwago was on the podium rallying support for the Democratic Party's Brenda Nabukenya. The fracas lasted for 30 minutes as the police engaged Nabukenya's supporters, who responded by pelting them with stones.
gasi tuyigire ibyo turaba
Earlier, President Yoweri Museveni tasked the area police commander to explain circumstances under which DP supporters were allegedly beating up people during the campaigns.
Who is this who is beating Ugandans that you don't take action?
Found the action already taken.
What action is that?
To arrest them and take them to court.
Those people were arrested?
Some were arrested, some are not yet.
Not yet, where have they gone?
They are checking, with intelligence we are going to get all of them, sir.
Huh?
With intelligence we are going to get, because they escaped we are going to get.
I don't want to hear this anymore.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
According to the president, he has received intelligence reports alleging that the opposition members took the law in their hands by beating up NRM supporters. Now he wants the police to take immediate action against such perpetrators without delay.
You DPC, Sangara Kurira, even Okuvumi, forget about beating.
The president also wants the opposition to compensate the victims by rebuilding their homes.
Now, these houses which have been destroyed, they must be paid for by the opposition. They must build these houses.
Meanwhile, former Vice President Gilbert Bukenya has thrown his weight behind the Democratic Party's candidate. Bukenya has previously promised to rally support for Nabu Kenya in the run-up for the by-election.
First of all, I came because Blenda, at the time she was in parliament, her debate were affluent, very, very good.
As Toro Kingdom eyes development in the area, it is looking to Southeast Asia, Vietnam to be particular. His Majesty Oyo Nyimba Kabamba Iguru IV is spearheading the formation of partnerships with international organizations and the metropolis. During his recent visit to the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, King Oyo met with both the business community and politicians.
A country many in Uganda would probably know only as featuring a lot in blockbuster war movies. Vietnam is actually the largest exporter of cashew nuts in the world, the second largest exporter of rice, and has literacy rates as high as 94%. Among all developing countries, Vietnam has one of the lowest unemployment rates. She's also among the fastest growing economies on the planet. It is these lessons and skills that the King of Toro hopes his kingdom will be able to transplant back home. As part of this, the king and his delegation met the vice president of the Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and discussed areas of cooperation.
You can be given land, and then we see how we can do partnership.
Do we have to have a relationship first in order for you to send your people to Toro? Or
no,
we can go
you
ahead?
just send an invitation letter, and then our chamber can organize that.
Okay. Both industrialization and agriculture are on the kingdom's radar, and so is the search for markets. The king and his contingent also met the mayor of the Vietnamese capital, Hanoi. The politician and the royal held talks aimed at twinning the capital and kingdom.
We always seek for developing country, more and more developing country in many fields, and also we have a chance to cooperate in many fields.
Although they have a linguistic barrier that stands between them, the King of Toro and the Mayor of Hanoi seem to be reading from the same page.
In my opinion, I would very glad to have that cooperation.
If actualized, the partnerships will put Toro Kingdom and Uganda at large in a new position, a regional industrial hub and food basket. Uganda's Vision 2040 earmarks Fort Portal as a tourism city. If the partnerships become tangible, the achievement of that will be a walkover. Ernest Wisdom Chionga, NTV.
Well, that brings an end to our morning bulletin here at Morning at NTV. We now cross over to the rooftop, to the guys there, for them to let us know what's happening in the press review. Good morning, Simon.
Good
Good morning, Mabel. How is this Wednesday morning treating you? I'm very sure sunny and bright where you are. But of course, where we're coming to you from the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel, there is a slight drizzle. And yes, the morning is slightly overcast. But of course, for us, we always wake up ready and big to give you what's happening in the newsstands this morning. And indeed, today we're looking at the Red Paper, the Observer, and the Daily Monitor. Very good morning once again. Welcome to this part of Morning at NTV. It's the press review where we look at what's trending in the headlines of today's newspapers that have hit the newsstands, and we're looking at specifically the Daily Monitor, the Red Paper, which is daily, and the Tri-Weekly Observer. My name is Simon Kasiate, and I'm joined by my usual suspects, Brian and Joel. Good morning, good people.
Good morning. How are you?
We're waking up to an interesting day this morning with newspapers giving us a lot of political information, and of course it's one day before the by-election in Luwero, and all the newspapers seem to be talking about the Luwero debacle. What do we have, starting from you, Brian Mulondo, in the Daily Monitor?
Well, as far as the Luwero saga is concerned, Bukenya, Simon's best friend, has finally...
Might want to revise that. Professor Gilbert Bukenya is a very good friend of mine, in as much as I disagree with him on many of his political modus operandi.
Right.
Because I don't understand how a party chairperson of the NRM of Wakiso is seen in another district campaigning for a candidate that belongs to another party. For me, I find that a travesty of multi-party discipline.
Is this a surprise, Simon, knowing what Bukenya has gone through in the past couple of...
Professor Gilbert Bukenya, I have told you, is my very good friend for precisely one reason. He stopped surprising me.
Let me read to you what he says is the reason for his campaigning for Nabukenya. He says, personally, I was touched when I heard that Mrs. Nabukenya's procession was tear-gassed by the police after her nomination, you know. And he goes on to say that Uganda is becoming a police state. This is unacceptable. I think he's disgruntled, albeit not right.
When American SEALs attacked and killed Bin Laden in the manner they killed him, I was touched. But that does not mean that I should go and lend my support to Al-Qaeda.
But this is Nabukenya. It's not Al-Qaeda, but yes.
No, I mean, I'm just telling you.
We've used the very harsh analogy.
If you're a chairperson of a party, X, of a district, and there is a candidate called Brian Mulondo contesting under a different party in another district, by way of what
let's call this one Shusha party.
Yeah,
you know, there's
for
many
me,
parties in this country.
And I was a very big opponent of this country going into multi-party politics because I knew we were not ready, even mentally. It is individual merit that works here. That Brian Mulondo, I like you, I would want you to be my co-presenter, no matter which party you belong to. Now, that is where we are all coming from. Individual merit is what this country wants. So, we are multi-parties when it's convenient, then we go into individual merit when it's convenient. Now, for me, this is a travesty of multi-party politics. Indeed, I do not know whether the NRM is a formidable party as they claim to be. If they were, they would discipline this Professor Gilbert Bukenya.
I hope they can, but you see the ones instead of sacking the other instead of sacking the other
this is indiscipline par excellence.
Right.
You see, there was an issue. In as much as he has got his right to support any candidate, and of course you can see the rhyme in the names, Bukenya, Nabukenya. I wouldn't doubt if he's not his daughter or clansmate or whatever it is. But clearly, what he has done does not augur well in the spirit of multi-party.
Do you think Ugandans understand what multi-party is? I think they don't. I think we've not gotten to, unfortunately, we should have grown up by now, gotten to a level where we
know
should.
what multipartyism entails.
Yeah, but see, his voters probably not get it. Look, there were also complaints, you know, the way the lady Nalwanga became NRM flag bearer. Apparently, you know, they didn't hold an election per se and that kind of thing. They said since she was the flag bearer the other time, she should be again this time round. And some people were a little bit disconcerted. And then they thought, no, we are going to break ranks, we will do otherwise. But even across the board, and brought together. Even across the board, Joel saying, if say Simon was UPC and you agreed with what he was saying, but you subscribed to DP, would you still vote for DP or Simon? Maybe I would vote for him quietly, but of course what you say is coming out and supporting somebody else, yet you belong to the ranks of a different party. I think that is not right.
That's why I would have had harsher words for President Museveni, who in the Observer this morning is quoted as saying, disqualify Nabukenya. And I'm asking myself, when I read through the story, the grounds for which President Museveni, who is the party chairperson of the NRM, and of course, president of this country, the grounds which he alludes to. I mean, yesterday, the newspapers reported him saying that Nabukenya is childish. I do not know whether, by extension, now that means that she should be qualified on the basis of the fact that she's childish. I would have had unkind words for the chairperson of NRM. But Professor Gilbert Bukenya just sweeps me off the ground because he's a chairperson of the party in a district. He traverses into another district and campaigns for a candidate that subscribes to another party. For me, this, I mean, what is the NRM waiting for? To kick Bukenya out of the NRM. What is Bukenya waiting for? To get out of the NRM. Look, he's telling people of Ruwero that the NRM has lied them for so long, that now it's good that Ruwero is now the vanguard and is in the front line for change. Right. This is the moment when Bukenya should break ranks with the NRM and come out as a formidable force. This whole thing of attaching yourself to the NRM because of convenience is a sign of weakness, political weakness. And Bukenya should know that he's politically weak if he's not able to bite the bullet and take the NRM by the horns.
President Museveni says what Nabukenya is doing is childish. We would have trained her, but she decided to join wrong elements like Mao and Besigye. I need to say this. Yesterday I did watch His Excellency the President, of course, saying the opposition members who are beating up NRM people should be arrested. And he went ahead to say that even those who are abusing NRM members should be arrested. And I said, with due respect, Your Excellency, I think what's good for the goose should be good for the gander. We have had His Excellency time and again call opposition members fools, poisonous mushrooms, and all these things.
You'll eat them like sambusa.
No, it's not right. Well, if opposition people should be arrested for abusing members of the NRM, I think members of the NRM too should be arrested for abusing members of the NRM.
Well, we'll see what happens to Gilbert Bukenya in a couple of days.
Well, away from the Bukenya thing, tell us what's happening. We have
in the absence of Dr. Besigye, the opinion polls are still going on. Who should the opposition field as presidential flag bearer? Yesterday I said there's no, alternative to President Museveni.
But that's not right.
I'm looking for a man who can stand against.
Well, the good thing is that all of us, our viewers this morning, you're going to be treated to an interview on the big story when we look at Research World International. This is the firm which was contracted by the Daily Monitor and another organization to carry out this research. We're going to ask them exactly which people they went to. Of course, I've heard of opinion polls, but no one has ever come to sample me. I always wonder where they get these respondents.
What did they talk to? Because I did participate, for example.
Absolutely. So all these are questions we're going to put to Research World International, who will come here to defend, or perhaps we try to punch holes in their research. But in today's publication in the Daily Monitor, it's clear that General Muntu is top-ranking opposition leader to succeed President Museveni. The reasons are, in the absence of Dr. Besigye.
Well, I still think General Muntu is too calm.
But why
for this space? But you see, the population, the people that vote, the electorate want someone who has a combination of drama and diplomacy. And Muntu is largely
Muntu is a good man. And why not? Why not? Who says we don't need sanity in this country?
You see, I want a man who will come out. If he has to dance calypso, he dances. If he has to,
for me, what I want good hospitals. I don't want somebody who can dance and not deliver.
And that's what I always say. Let us not be blinded by this stuff that we've read with the elite, because we've studied political science and all this stuff. The people who actually vote want the kind of leader.
And guess what? Guess what, Joel? I was looking at this research as I prepared for the big story this morning. We look at the 54% that eventually asked Museveni to go in for the 2016. He has got the biggest support coming in from Western Uganda. Then it is closely followed by Northern Uganda. No, from Eastern Uganda and then Northern Uganda. And guess where he has the least support? Central Uganda, where we generate all this noise and talk about. This is where we make a lot of noise and say all these sorts of things where we are naysayers. But guess what? Even then, we don't wake up in the morning to go and cast our vote. Unfortunately. So we clamor
because we think the playing field is not leveled.
And that's all. There's no political talk here in the Observer. The Observer goes deep and hard. Now here there is an interview with one Ali Kirunda Kivei Jinja, who's the 78-year chairman of the Historicals League, which is an organ of the NRM. He says it's up to the youth to mind their future. In other words, he seems to indicate that what the NRM youth are doing is clearly way within their right and way within the propagation of the NRM. But guess what? That's not the last of heard of people who are coming from the doldrums of significance. Now coming in to say something here. General Sejusa, he's still alive. General Sejusa is saying, General Katumba and General Mujira are not safe. This government and UPDF don't eliminate perceived opponents, says General Katumba in response to this. So General Sejusa is saying, you guys, you are not safe. Better free, join me and all that. Then Katumba is saying, no, this government does not eliminate perceived opponents. I mean, we've had this from General Sejusa.
But look,
writing emails from the UK. Really, I don't think it's going to move this country to the direction of change that he's clamoring. I think
He should come here and face the music.
Absolutely. Like President Museveni keeps saying, this
should
man
be like Besigye.
Let him, exactly. You know, and I taunted Dr. Kizza Besigye after he fled into exile between 2002 and 2005 when he finally returned. I said, come on, come here. The music is here. And I was pleasantly, I was pleasantly elated when he came that day in 2005. That's why, gladly, then I worked for the Daily Monitor as a reporter. We couldn't believe it. Went and met him mid-air, and I came with him here. And you could have seen the kind of determination he had. Never mind that as soon as he landed here, took a round-robin trip around the country. On his return here, he's arrested, he's charged, trumped up charges of rape.
So maybe Sejusa is preparing for that comeback. It took Besigye, what, 3 years to prepare? Maybe Sejusa has been gone 1 year.
Remember, for Besigye to go to exile, he had contested an election in 2001. Right. He had been beaten. His supporters had been flogged. All sorts of machination had been done. His family had been tormented. His in-laws were clobbered. He stood. I mean, by the time he fled, real push had come to shove. What push had come to shove in the case of General Sejusa?
Well, but and remember, let's cut some slack
here was Kano, near Kano, and we were talking about the general with all the, anyway.
Let's cut this man some slack. You don't necessarily have to be in the streets of Kampala, be beaten for you to add value to this country. I think we all have different ways of doing things. I hope he's adding value the way he
for
is
a man
doing his
who
things. Hopefully he will come here at some point.
And fight battles. I mean, he's a war general. He's not a classroom general. He's a war general.
So now he should come here and fight.
He's now there playing classroom politics.
He should come here and Zabika.
Well, there's something I realize about, when food has been put out of your mouth. I've been following this gentleman. You did talk about him, Alhaji Chirola Juve. And of late, the way he puts out his points and the way he says things, I'm thinking, okay, what exactly happened? He's beginning to sound like I want to listen to this man. I did not want to listen to him when he was in government. It was all yellow, 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 yellow. But when bread has been taken out of their mouths, it's a different story altogether.
Well, away from politics, the chairman of the AIDS Commission, Professor Nantulia, says that the HIV bill is very irrelevant. I got an opportunity to spend about 4 hours with this gentleman. And for him, his focus is on behavior. Let's change behavior. Law will not help us fight HIV.
And in contradiction to that, somebody here...
Professor Nantulia should know that then there shouldn't be a law against theft. We should now change behavior so that we respect people's property and don't take that doesn't belong to us. But there must be a law to avert that.
But you see, the question has always been, what did we do when Uganda was able to reduce the infection rate to 4%?
We scaremongering. Now people look at HIV and AIDS as a flu. Hey, come on. Do you know the AIDS of then? People degenerated, you just withered overnight. Exactly.
Somebody now says
someone looks also healthy and vibrant and they're working till the last day, just drop dead, and the cause of death, pneumonia. But clearly you know that there has been a long history of that. So now people have become complacent.
And today we're told people can live up to 75 years with the virus. So
now that's when someone says, bring it on. You'll find a couple, do not know each other, they go to bed, and the first thing they do is they're taking all meticulous care to ensure that the mosquito net is well placed, and then they go in there and have live sex. Clearly you can see that they are more afraid of malaria,
as
opposed to HIV.
Just like university girls, many polls have been conducted, and these guys are usually more afraid of getting pregnant than they are of catching HIV.
You are not telling us something about the 10
companies that I wanted to intentionally skip that because of the interest.
No, there's no conflict of interest here. We're telling you that 10 robust companies, which include the biggest pensions and I don't know what they call
it. Want power availed to us as Ugandans at an affordable rate.
Yes.
This business, I don't care who owns how much, the company is worth billions of dollars and all that stuff. It does not help me if you're coming here, you're not able to avail power when I need it. You are exorbitantly charging me. I'm thinking,
no, but you see, you're now accusing Umeme of something else. Umeme distributes what it gets.
Yeah, that's the point. Beginning with USCOM, the generators, I don't care what you want and so on.
Now I'm also telling you. And guess what? We, the power generators, generate more than you people can consume.
That will be a debate for another day. But yeah, 10 companies are bought into Umeme and Investec, which is Africa's largest investment fund.
IFC, International Financial, what? I mean, read them out. They're here.
This guy. Okay, let's. I really wanted to skip this story because I know. But
what I'm sure of is at least that now I own part of Umeme through the NSSF where I contribute. Unlike you who make so much noise about NSSF and yet they're not contributors of NSSF. Case in point, our good members of parliament.
Well, the other companies, Farallon Capital, Coronation Funds, Alan Gray Africa Funds, International Finance Corporation, Utilico Emerging Markets Limited,
Man, you
Everest
sound like
Capital,
you're off the board at the New York State
T-Rock Towers, and others. Well, they've bought into it substantial part of Umeme. Will be waiting whether that will be translated
use your usual word, Zavike.
Zavike.
And we're looking at the red paper this morning. Yes, there is a screaming headline from the red paper, and I think we all need to get a copy of the red paper to understand what this national exclusive is. They say rebels raid Kabamba barracks, and this attack was led by a UPDF Akano. Now, let's not forget that the war that ushered in President Museveni and the NRM also had its first shot at Kabamba. Can we say that history is repeating itself here, or are we also not having this kind of story said in the best way? And guess what? There is also another story coming in from the Secretary General of the NRM. I think NRM needs to discipline some of their members. How NRM stole votes, Mbabazi reveals. It is here in the red paper. Now, you are still holding an executive office in a party, and now you're beginning to reveal.
If that story is anything to go by, it's probably coming out to confess and say, we fell short of the required standards. Please pardon us. What is wrong with that?
Well, at least the church has suspended a catechist over the Museveni cash, so something...
they are fighting over this.
In Padel,
Miss Onyango is said to have fought with a colleague, Miss Irene Ojoke, over 800,000 shillings that have gone missing. Whatever this Museveni cash is not doing to us. No salaries for government workers who do not register for IDs. Are you guys government employees? You should worry if you are.
Well, there is very many interesting stories in the red paper this morning. Business in the red paper this morning is talking about why NSSF bought more Umeme shares worth about 34 billion Ugandan shillings. And of course, you're also talking about the tobacco law that, in their language, seems to have smoked out traders. Traders are up in arms against this law, and so are farmers, and so are consumers of this product. Now, of course, you know, as always, there's always the 411 and gossip and all these interesting, sleazy stories coming from both the local and international showbiz scene. It's in the red paper this morning.
Well, gentlemen, it's 22 days to the World Cup, and slowly squads are being released, and today they focus on Italy. I support Italy, so, and the four-time winners will go far, but not far enough. What is Uganda? Come on.
Uganda is
we are failing to qualify for African Nations Cup. Let me first support Italy, then I'll come back. Yeah,
so you are becoming Italian.
Okay, in the World Cup, I will support Italy.
Well, there we have it. Some sports news coming in from all the newspapers here with us this morning. The Observer, the Red Paper, and of course the Daily Monitor. Now, on the international scene, Mabel is standing by in our studios at the Serena Kampala Conference Center. And yes, we know that there was a twin blast again in Nigeria. Nigeria is fast becoming a fodder for terror activities, and now beyond the 200 girls that went missing and haven't been sighted except on videos posted by terrorists, now we see 2 bombs going off in some part of Nigeria, claiming over 100 lives. And of course, we also know that the Balkans are still underwater as flooding continues in that part of the world. What else is trending on the international scene, Mabel?
Thank you very much, Simon. Really, what is happening in Nigeria is very sad. About 118 bodies have been covered from the central part of Nigeria, which is Jos. But moving on to another story that is really trending. China has confronted the U.S. over the cyber spying accusations. Now, we do know that China, the U.S. accused 5 Chinese men here of spying, of hacking into American companies to steal trade secrets. And what happened basically yesterday, China summoned the U.S. ambassador to complain about this hacking into nuclear, metal and solar companies. They do not agree with that. It's also a big story on CNN. Beijing denounces the U.S. hacking charges against the Chinese, and they are accusing the U.S. of hypocrisy and double standards with this cyber theft against American business. An interesting story here coming in from the UK. Prince Charles apparently compared Putin to Hitler. Now, this is going to spark probably a diplomatic row of sorts. He says this because of Hitler's involvement over Ukraine. And I would like to see how that will be playing out later. Also on Sky Sports News, so on Sky News, we have more military vehicles taking over Bangkok. We do know that a martial law has been instituted in the country, where the media has been banned and also protests have been banned. Now, on to the BBC news page. This was a story that has been playing in the press for a while, and finally a verdict has come in. A Russian journalist was killed 5 years ago, Anna Politkovskaya. She was a very good critic, should I say, or a very big critic of Russia's war in Chechnya. She was an investigative reporter. She was shot dead in a lift. And now 5 men have actually been convicted of her murder. And on the BBC Africa page, we have the story on the Nigerian bombings. They say here 118 bodies have now been found from the sites of the twin bombings. Donors continue to pledge aid to South Sudan, which is a good thing. It's actually more aid, and the donors include the US and the UK, making that pledge at a conference in Norway. And Oscar Pistorius has actually been sent for more psychiatric tests. They want to assess the mental state he was in when he killed his girlfriend. And that is what we had for you on the international scene. Big story will be coming up after the break.
Kampala has been voted in the past as one of the favorite cities for tourists, one of the most peaceful cities. That is something that is changing.
Kale Kaihura, the Inspector General of Police, and President Yoweri Museveni, their alliance, they can only crack down or stop individual strikes and individual demonstrations. But I don't think they can stop the growth of militancy.
No holds barred.
Besigye and Lukwago have particular grievances against the government, some legitimate, some misguided. What should the police do? Of course, the police has to intervene, A, to protect the power of President Yoweri Museveni and the NRM from disruption by Besigye and Lukwago, but B, also, never forget this, to protect those ordinary people whose property gets destroyed.
I want to ask that many think that they've actually been frustrated.
Opposition parties in Africa do not tend to be constructed around policy differences. FDC lacks a glue to hold its coalition of different power-hungry individuals together.
Incisive.
You see, the NRM is more divided internally than the FDC. The advantage with the NRM is it has political power.
Analytical.
I think that one of the best organized political parties in Uganda is the PPP, the People's Progressive Party with Dan Sali. This idea that everybody is telling around the world that Africans are poor and they cannot contribute to their own political and social emancipation is crap. In fact, I think that the opposition parties in Uganda have to win an election in an unfair and unleveled ground.
Newsnight with Andrew Mwenda.
You can bring everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for the NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am Muyai?
It's absolutely true. I admire the President Museveni.
Is the ICC a fascist code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only 2 individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of Login,
this week on Login, we bring to you lots of fun like the Zambia Sunset Boat Cruise, Mambo Fashion Show, and Omo launching a new brand. Catch this and so much more Wednesday 7:30 p.m. on NTV.
Login.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
Thank you for watching Morning at NTV, and for all of you who keep on sending us messages like Irene, who says, thanks for the show. I've been missing the show because of morning classes, and now I can enjoy the show to the fullest. Thank you for the messages. They keep us going. And now we hand over to Simon for today's big story. Simon, good morning once again. Whom do we have on the big story?
Well, thank you very much, Mabel. This morning on the big story, of course, you will recall that in the last couple of days, that Daily Monitor has been leading, and other publications have been publishing findings of a report as a result of a research that was carried out to feel the political pulse. Now, let's not forget that the Monitor Publications and Uganda Governance Monitoring Platform commissioned Research World International to conduct a national representative opinion poll in April of this year, that's last month, with the aim of assessing the opinions and attitudes of voting-age Ugandans 2 years ahead of the 2016 election. Now, this morning on the big story, we'll be looking at who conducted this research, how credible can we take them, and of course, we'll be looking at what their methodology was and their demographics. So this morning we are joined by Dr. Patrick Wakida, who is the CEO of Research World International. Stay with us. Well, I think the kicker for this research that was conducted by Research World International, commissioned by the Daily Monitor and the Uganda Governance Monitoring Platform, really gave us what would perhaps be the everlasting standard headline that came in the Daily Monitor yesterday. 54% of Ugandans backing President Yoweri Museveni for 2016. Now, this opinion poll was carried out in April. Let's look back at what was happening in April. That's the time when the sole candidacy was being sold across the country. Let us also remember that this is when we were at the very height of the skirmish between Mama Mbabazi, who is the Secretary General of the NRM, and President Yoweri Museveni. But of course, this research was all-encompassing, asking questions. Who do you want to replace President Museveni? We also saw Monday waking up to the headline that Kadaga does top those pitted to replace President Museveni in the NRM. And this morning we wake up with the news that General Mugisha Muntu is perhaps the most formidable opposition leader to lead this country after President Museveni. Of course, these reports will be coming out entirely for the whole week, and this is the result of this report. Now, I have the pleasure to have Dr. Patrick Wakida, who is the CEO of Research World International. Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to the big story.
Good morning. Morning.
Patrick, and you'll allow me to call you by your first name for the purposes of not having a mouthful of titles and names here. This research is causing ripples across every divide in this country. People are asking questions. How credible can we take this research?
A good research is the one which generates debate.
I'm not talking about debate.
You cause people to debate and to talk about issues that the ordinary person has talked about. Opinion poll only just gives a voice to the ordinary person to say what they would have said to their leaders. And as I said, in order for you to understand what we did, you should read from the objective. The objective is we wanted to get the opinions, attitudes, and perceptions of the ordinary people on issues of governance, election, leadership in the country. And I think that's what we did.
Well, you did this research between the 15th and 17th day of April. This is 2 days.
No.
This is the research.
I think that's a misconception. The study was conducted from the 15th to the 27th of April. That is the standard period for which a survey being done by a credible firm should take.
Well, you traversed this country and went to 4 regions, East, West, North, and Central, and you interviewed about 2,142 respondents, and about 54% of these were women. Is this a representative enough demographic?
Yes. You see, in order for you to do a sampling, a credible sampling, a scientific sampling, you must have a credible source of data for which you base your sampling. For this one, we used the 2002 U-boat census. And
that is over 12 years ago.
I know, but you see,
that's the only available.
That's the only available, but also the dynamics in the population hasn't so much shifted. We use that, population census to distribute the sample across the regions. Then we use the regional population to share the sample within that region. So you will find that the region that seems to have a higher population is likely to have a higher sample. And it continues until when you reach the household where the interviews are conducted.
You know, talking about households where interviews are conducted, I've always asked myself, I'm almost clocking into half a century, and nobody has ever come to me conducting a research. So the million-dollar question, and of course many viewers would associate that kind of concern with me, we ask ourselves, who do you interview, and how do you find them?
You see, that's a very, very credible question. And I want to tell you that's one of the challenges the researchers like us face are those questions. People keep coming around and say, how can 2,142
speak on behalf of millions of voters?
Speak on behalf of all those people. And my answer to them is always, when you go to the clinic, do you have to drain all your blood in order for you to know whether you have typhoid or malaria? You definitely use a very small sample. So that is the response to that. But again, this is a random selection.
That's an interesting one.
It's a random selection whereby you randomly select. You don't know who you are going to select. Now, if Simon Kashiate is in a household where the interviews are going to be conducted, still you have to be selected randomly.
You can argue, I'm never in my household. I'm always here in the morning, then during the day I'm at work somewhere, in the evening possibly in bars and so forth.
No, either way.
I'm just bringing down to the methodology. Exactly how do you do this sampling?
Like I said, the sample is distributed to the regions. Regional sample is distributed to the sub-counties. Sub-county samples are distributed to the parish. So the sampling point is the parish.
And where from research world goes out asking these questions? What tools do you use? Do you use a questionnaire? What methods are you using? People would love to know how you conduct this
research. We have what we call the structured questionnaire. This time we had a structured questionnaire with about 71 questions. 71 questions. We expected our research assistant to last about 70 to 80 minutes with the respondents. It's a conversational. You go on until when you finish. Now, at a household, there is what we call the Kish grid. We use the Kish grid to select the person in that household, randomly again.
Kish grid. Now, can you break that down into the normal English that people...
It's a scientific research tool that helps you to select. It has a table where you list all the people in the household.
I thought in the household, clearly, you just go in and look for head of house.
That will be not scientific. And once you do that, then you are not scientific. You must keep the study random up to when you select a respondent. And after you've selected the respondent, like Simon Kashiate, and they say he has gone to work, you should not select another person. You must come back twice to see whether you can get that respondent. If you miss the 2 times and you can get that respondent by telephone, then get that respondent and find that respondent where he was.
Supposing you identified respondent Simon Kashiate, and then at the point of interview he develops cold feet.
Yes.
And says, maybe, you know what, talk to my daughter.
No, we will not. We will only substitute that household. The process is that you move from here and you go to your village. Well, I don't know what's your village, Simon.
Oh, it's a place in Bugangari.
So we reach Bugangari Parish, and we select a starting point, and we say this is a petrol station, X. So we say the first household...
The nearest petrol station to that village is about 20 kilometers.
No, just give you an example. We are looking for a feature that is identifiable. You reach there, and then you look at the first household, and you say, household A. After that household, you jump another 5. Every 5th household, therefore, will qualify on your left hand. Then you turn again on your left hand. You only select households, the 5th household, on your left side.
Dr. Wakida, well, you're giving me a lot of scientific explanation, and clearly one would take you for your word and believe that you are extremely random and possibly you follow the dictums and the dictates of a scientific research to the T. However, this research was commissioned by the Daily Monitor and this other non-governmental organization. And they have their reasons as why they commissioned it. Doesn't the commissioner of this research, the guy who pays you the money, have an influence in one way or another on how you conduct your research? Which respondents
I don't want to exonerate those people. We are professionals. All we received from Monitor and the platform were themes.
Just themes.
And from the themes, we developed the questionnaires as professionals.
When you brought back this research, the Daily Monitor and the themes, and well, you know, I'm not saying this is people's perception of the Daily Monitor. It was unfathomable yesterday when we see a screaming headline, 54% Ugandans back President Museveni for 2016. In the Daily Monitor, I would have expected that from another publication that many people view as pro-government.
You see,
wasn't the Daily Monitor
I would have
disappointed?
I would have sued the Daily Monitor had they reported otherwise.
Really?
Data we give is certified. When we give you our data, we expect you to produce it the way it is. And that's why I spend more time looking through the reports. Should any newspaper report what we did not produce, then we'll sue them.
For adulteration?
Yes.
But supposing me who commissions you, I'm disappointed by your findings. I mean, I want to find out why I'm left, and then you find out that I'm disliked.
You have one alternative.
Which is?
Don't publish. It's your report.
Yes, it's never happened here before. Yes. One time there was a report commissioned by some people who I will not mention, conducted by another company that I will never that I will not mention, and this was towards the 2011 election. And it clearly showed a certain trend that was not in tandem with the whims and fancies of this group. We thought that was heavily hypocritical or perhaps even unprofessional.
No,
you mean it's acceptable that if I don't agree with the research, I don't publish?
If you commission your study, you have the right to consume it or to share the study. It's up to you. You haven't used the public funds. So assuming the government or some public organization has funded that, then you are under obligation to share to the public. But you know, you can commission me. You, Kashate, you can commission and say, I really want to understand how people behave.
If I want to send you out to go and find out perhaps how people perceive this whole ESCOM question.
Actually, I have. I am in the process of coming to ESCOM.
Well, we'll discuss this off the side. Dr. Wakida, we Ugandans tend not to believe in your scientific research findings for the simple reason that for as long as a research finding does not feed into our whims and fancies, our held prejudices, then we disregard that as something that has been paid for. This is mere spin, and it is out to change the way people are thinking. How does it bother you that sometimes you're not
Let me first put it in context. Opinion polls are a bitter truth.
I mean, clearly 54% saying that the back President Museveni here is...
It's a bitter truth in that you eat it while feeling the bitterness. A number of people, and you will find a person who is bitter with the opinion poll, he will use it more than the other one who said, oh, I'm comfortable with it.
Because they are grappling with
with the bitter truth. Now, you don't expect a person eating a pepper you know, to be as smooth as the person who is not eating pepper. Now, you have talked so much about 54 against the other.
For me, that is what cuts it.
Let me put it very clear. We asked people, very simple question. In your view, should President Museveni contest again in 2016? And the question was yes or no, don't know, or no comment. As simple as that. And 54% of the population said come out. Now, let me tell you the significance of that. In 2012, we did ask the same question. And 38% of the population said Museveni should come back.
38%?
Yes, and about 56% at that time said no.
Again.
Now, that was 2012. Elections had just ended. There was still open competition. Like you said earlier, probably there are circumstances and factors
that have influenced this, because I remember that in April a lot of cash has been going around.
So I don't know. For us as a researcher, we did not go deep to find out what
are the reasons why. But then I see from your research that the wealthy, well-to-do and highly educated Ugandans oppose the idea of Museveni standing again.
Yes.
That's what you found out. And then you also say that on the other hand, the low-class rural population endorse his re-election.
That's very true. You see, the higher you go in education, the more likely you make affirmative decisions. The higher you go in education, the more wealthy you get, the more you become affirmative. And the lower you get into the social class, the more complacent you become, the more you start accepting the devil you know. Probably there is, you know, people tend to like the president in the village. You can't outrule that. And also, people appreciate, in the village, people appreciate the leadership.
But I'll take it up from a very personal perspective.
Yes.
Dr. Wakida, you're not just a scientific researcher.
Yes.
You're also a political player.
Yes.
We know that you are an active member of a political party here.
Yes.
And how is your political party, for the start, taking this? And you know, for the avoidance of doubt here, Dr. Wakida subscribes to the Forum for Democratic.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Now, here you are saying 54% of Ugandans in your private work, which you do privately, but professionally, doesn't your party begin to think that you possibly have
let me first put this. Our politics ends outside the office. And that is a principle in our office.
But your voters are outside your office, Dr. Wakida?
Yes. I don't work for the voters. I work for ordinary Ugandans. I work for ordinary Ugandans. And when we produce a poll like this, the best thing to do, let me tell you what this poll does. This poll helps those who want to take power to see where we are. But it also gives those in power to keep a grip, because it offers them to know where the problems are. It gives the civil society an opportunity to know what issues to take on.
You're such a bad politician, Dr. Wakida. Politicians are supposed to be telling us and drumming us into things we already know. You fan the fire. You do not try to start putting in place critical analysis and all that.
You see, let me tell you, until when, as Ugandans, learn to consume research, we will still be burying our heads under the sand. And I have already told some of the leaders, I say, if you don't believe it, keep it in the wardrobe. If you believe it, use it, because it will help you.
Have you been accused by one or two people that you have been bribed?
Actually, nobody has called me on that. Most of them who have called me say, this is a good piece of work, we want to use it. Yesterday, I had very, very many calls, both from the NRM and from the opposition.
And I want to ask you one question in this. From all this, what do you gather? Who stands to use this report more than the other? Is it the guys in power who seem to already have a head start, or the guys who are lagging behind?
The one who has the capacity to use the research. The one who has the capacity to use the research.
Speaking in ones and zeros, Dr. Wakida, tell me now from a politician.
You see, the one who has the capacity to use the research. Two, the one who will believe the research will use it.
My final question on this, Dr. Wakida, how believable is this research from where you
Very credible. I want to give you that, to tell you that we are giving this with a margin of error +3 or -3. That is very, very, very close, with a confidence level of 97%, because we interviewed people, we supervised people. Even if you came to the office, I'll give you a list of the raw material. Yes, if you want to take stock of it, you will come and see the parishes where we went. Every interview that we conducted, we made sure we get a telephone number, we made sure we get the GPS of that home. We know where the interviews were conducted, because we will not
share this information with everybody. We share a lot of which hand?
You see, for research, in the research, we don't share that information. But even if you put that one is used by the quality control team in the office to follow up on any questionnaire where they found distortions or inconsistencies. So we have to go back there.
It's 2 years ahead of the next election, Dr. Wakida. Are we seeing this as your final report? Are we going to see periodic researchers coming in from your side as we go closer to 2016?
You know, when we started Research World International about 4 years ago, there was a report by the Observer. It said a new research firm to change face of research in Uganda. You remember, did you read that?
Yes, I did read that, and one can say possibly you paid for that as an editorial.
No, it wasn't. Now, we've done polls in 2012. We regarded it as the baseline. This is going to continue. 6 months, probably 6 months down, you're going to have another poll coming out.
If you have no one to commission you or someone to give you money, are you able to finance the report yourself?
Yes, we are able to finance the poll. There is always a question that lingers there. Who funded this poll?
Exactly.
So it's always important that there is a person who owns the funds. But Research World International has the capacity. Even in this particular poll, we contributed about 25%.
As the research?
As the Research World International, yes.
Wow, so you're eco-partners with the government and the platform?
Exactly, yes.
Well, you've heard it from him, the man whose research findings is causing ripples across the political, social, and economic divide in this country, and he is setting the pace 2 years ahead of the next election, and of course giving further to you, the political players, and we, the electorate, on where now to start realigning or shipping up, or at least panel beating, to ensure that we get the desired result at the next election. Now we'll take a short break. When we return, it's Simon Says. Dr. Wakida, the CEO of Research World International, did share with us a very important statement here that we would want to reiterate in this section of Simon Says, that a credible research or a credible research finding is like a bitter pill. It's the bitter truth, that you take it or leave it, but that is the naked truth as it is. And for you to be regarded as wise, it's very important that you not disregard the findings of such a report. Use it to find out where you have faltered. Use it to see how you can buttress your strongholds. Use it to ensure that then you're able to predict what the trends and patterns will be, even when you use the usual taunted Latin word ceteris paribus. Now, like I said earlier on, for the most part, we Ugandans don't seem to take very seriously empirical scientific findings of this nature, if especially do not fall within the whims and fancies of our prejudices. But I think times have changed to the point that scientific experiments are that you cannot doctor them, you possibly can do very little in altering them. The sooner we begin to realize that many of these phenomena can only be understood and appreciated and handled from a scientific point of view, the better for us, rather than relying on rumor, perception, or even for that matter, prejudices. Have a wonderful, productive moment. Have a wonderful day. And of course, keep it scientific. And yes, contribute in the best way you possibly can to the development of yourself and by extension, this country. Have a good morning.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that. Just some business.
I came to apologize. I have no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chinawa's death.
But you didn't have to kill another person.
It's not like I've got anything to hide, Nene. Just go ahead.
Victoria, how is it like to work for Miles Filagazi?
Blood seemed to matter not.
Blood?
Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
You can bring everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for the NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am Muyai?
It's absolutely true. I admired the President Museveni.
Is the ICC a fiscal code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only 2 individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
Mikwano gyaffe bana NTV ate naddala mu bannaamu muli gw'emizannyo ebyemizannyo gukomyewo 2014 ate mutya kati ate gukyusiza n'obudde gwa 7 gwali gwa 9 ne gugoberera ntusanyuka kati gubongereddeko wano malya g'ebyemisana awo busooke gubatayize gubaleetire buli kintu kyonna kalenda n'ebyemizannyo ogwo muli gw'ebyemizannyo mupya 2014 Isima wali alagira Argentina yenjo mukubire dibali omukwano kujja kukomawo ku muri gw'emizanyo ne kasita kinatuuka eri bano ba Messi okulumba abalenzi bafu Thiago Silva awo tewali mukwano omuli gw'emizanyo 2014 President.
I was going to my hall, someone came from my back and was
how tugenda okwera kekiro yanga ngambye omanyi yakeko nange omulundi gwe gusembayo.
I went to the nurse and I asked why is it that our father is negative and for us we are positive.
Every time I find a story of assault of one person to another, I get disturbed.
Mwayombye ekiro lwaleeta suzeewo lwe bakwokeza nazeepoza kimu nti mujja wange yanjokezza
kino ekyafa kino kyali kyakulira muno mu lubuto.
The Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette.
The days of legal trade in slaves are history, following its abolition in the 1800s.
They tie you like this. That's when I started getting past.
Everybody has a story, but yours will only become our story when you share it.
Oluvannyuma lwa lutalo abaana bangi batwalibwa abekika era bulala basigadde
abamu bajja ne babakima
era twagende mu Lukola eyo inakasongola mu Buluri twagende mu Butale babalaaro okubuuza omwana oyo mumanyi
nti mukwate obutonde obwekonkome mukwate obutonde bwa Ebola mubuteeke mu nsigo omuzungu ayogedde palamenti muyise bosi basajja
omulembe guno gutuusemu n'abantu n'entondo kati waliwo n'emyaka egy'entondo
waliwo yakiŋŋamba
bamugamba muŋŋambe bulungi kati munkwate empola
dokita buli akwata bayibuli eno ajja kusomera bintu nga ye bw'alowooza. For example waliwo controversy yaliwo
tobeera mu ssuuti ate ng'oteekamu gganduula
olina kubeerako kimu kubanga okusomesezza tumaze emyaka 2 tusomesa bannayuganda eddembe lyammwe mulimanyi oluusi n'obusobozi obulina nakulabira abaganda baagala kabaka
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of Destiny River.
Mind if I take Manuela with me then? I have 2 sick oxen at home and I want her to check on them.
No, of course not. It's fine by me. But you should talk to her. We're not married yet.
Do you want me to take Estella, home too?
You should ask her.
What is really happening here? What?
Are you insane? Nothing is happening. I just think that you two should... Destiny
River.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us, and it's awesome this morning. I'm feeling so good. It has showered a little bit across the city, if you can see, a little bit of mist right there in the background. And yes, business is going on as usual. And of course, Kingdom Kampala Hotel, which is really dominating an empty skyline, waiting for when that hotel will be complete. But wherever you're stuck and watching our show this morning, whether you're at home or in your telly, you can also stream live, youtube.com/NTV Uganda/live. Join the platforms on Facebook and Twitter, and of course our SMS line. Now, before the break, we had Dr. Patrick Wakida from Research World International. Lots of opinion polls have been released in the past couple of days. One saying 54% of Ugandans saying that the president should indeed come back in 2016. The other saying Rebecca Kadaga is leading as far as the opinion polls are concerned against Jennifer. So
so well. The First Lady, Janet Museveni, and of course, other opposition leaders, especially, and also the man who has been in the headlines this couple of days, Amama Mbabazi, the Secretary General of the NRM, but also doubles as the Prime Minister of Uganda. Were these opinion polls credible or not? We were talking that, and Simon was with Dr. Patrick. A couple of things that he talked about and really stood out for us this morning. This research helps those in power, interested in keeping power, and the civil society on how politics is managed in the country. And he goes on to say, we and the Daily Monitor finance opinion poll that was conducted. And I remember that one of the people that, really financed this opinion poll were our sister company, Daily Monitor. The question we used to conduct the opinion poll regarding President Museveni contesting in 2016 polls were very simple. Our politics ends outside the office. I don't work for voters, but for Ugandans. And this was mind-blowing that Dr. Patrick said that we have a structured questionnaire with 71 questions during the research. Wow, that's massive. That's so many questions. It feels like you're filling in for the national ID, right? Regions with higher populations end up having higher samples. And he talked about a scientific way of doing this research. You always go for the first, the 5 houses on your left side. It's really, some of that stuff that they use to get these opinion polls. Well, let us know what you think about this on our Twitter handle, which is @morning@ntv. Actually, a couple of you said something. Museveni has more chances to remain in presidency in the villages compared to towns. All right, people in the villages love him so much. Well, that's what some of you have to say. Mabel is standing by at the NTV studios at the International Conference Center with your comments on Facebook. Mabel, what are people's reactions to this opinion poll?
Thank you very much, Brian. But before I get into people's reaction, birthdays today, we have Quinton Fortune, who turns 37 today. This South African footballer played for Manchester United, Atletico Madrid, and the Bolton Wanderers. Also celebrating a birthday today is Mr. T, famous for the A-Team series. He also acted in Rocky. He says everything in his life started as a dream, and then he made a plan on how to achieve his dream. So if it's your birthday today, have a dream and make sure you have a plan. And on to our Facebook messages, we also have Ronald sending good morning greetings to his siblings, saying he's watching Morning at Ntv and it's blossoming here in Fort Portal. Happy birthday to you. Now on to the big story, to your feedback from the big story where Simon hosted Dr. Patrick Wakida. Lots of comments there. We have Alex saying it's good that they have done this research. It's the bitter truth. But will the government take it as a positive, will they take it as positive and correct where there is need? He's asking. And he says that remains the question. Fred also goes on to, another Fred says, people are desperate and they have fear that if they have any thought of changes, we may fall into hot soup. And Louis David says, your findings are very accurate. They reflect the will of the Ugandans. I only think over 60% want Museveni. It's not just 54%. And Ali says, whoever fights it should know where to begin from. Poverty, Ali continues to say, is making people act desperately. Why is it that the president influences their minds through money? Corruption starts from above. That is his opinion. And to other questions about Museveni, the opinion poll, which said 54% of the Ugandans back Museveni. We have Ocho Patrick saying, add me. Make it 55%. This dude has beefed up our security. Adrian saying it's true. Okot Boni says, don't you know that Museveni is big? Let him retire peacefully. Add me to that percentage to make it 57%. We have Rick Rose saying, that's so obvious. Besides that, who do you think can make that percentage among his opponents? And Emmanuel saying, do you need any more research? For sure he deserves it. Because I have never seen any weak opposition like the weak opposition of Uganda. Thank you so much for your Facebook messages. Please keep them coming in. If you haven't liked our Facebook page, like our Facebook page, like the NTV Facebook page too, and as well as the pages of the other programs. We now cross over to Brian for Everyday Life. What do we have today?
Now he gets an opportunity to be a shareholder in Umeme, and yes, this week is the customer care week for NSSF. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning. How are you?
How are you?
Good.
Nice to see you.
Thank you very much.
Tell us about the customer care week. What is it about?
NSSF over the last 3 years has basically embarked on providing our customers with some good service. What we do is we set aside 1 week in a year, in which we epitomize that. For those who do not know that we offer services, we say, come and see what you can get out of your NSSF.
Okay.
Because it's the people's fund. It's not our money, it's our members' funds.
Right. In the past, you are responsible for collecting and managing people's retirement funds. And of course, in the past, what has happened did not make people happy, to the point that they say, you know what, we need different players in the market.
Correct.
What is so different this time? Are you going to address those issues, the complaints that people have during this week?
Actually, no, we've actually addressed them. A lot of people complain about things like, first of all, they say they didn't get their money, because most of it was misunderstanding NSSF with public service. Pension. No, people get their money, but we used to take so long, and we'd give people the runaround. We've reduced that now to 10 to 13 days from the moment you put in your application to the time you get money in your account. Now, of course, it varies depending if somebody say is a death benefit, because that takes a little longer, but still, we're paying some benefits within 3 days, within 4 days, and that has really turned around. And you go to a branch now, the service levels you get are extremely good. So we made it and turned it around.
What age do you give the money? Because some of us want to retire at 35. You know, I have about 4 years to retire, and I'm thinking, well, this guy's giving my money. What if I die at 40 and I want to enjoy that money?
NSSF is governed by an act of parliament.
Yeah.
And parliament, in its wisdom, basically prescribed 6 ways in which currently you can get your money out. 1, you reach the age of 55. Come apply, get your money, no questions asked. 2, you reach the age of 50, but you've been unemployed for 1 year. You come get your money out. The third way is a doctor certifies that you are sick and unemployable anymore. It could be 20 years, 30 years. You come and get all your money out.
I go to my doctor and tell them,
you come to our doctor. Come to our doctor. And then the fourth way, unfortunately, somebody dies, so that money will go to their benefits. The fifth way, somebody moves from the private sector, because NSSF says to the private sector, and moves into the public sector, join the army, the police, or the government, because they have their own pension scheme.
Right.
You can take your money. And the last sixth one is you move out of Uganda permanently. The key word is permanently.
So if, for example, I get a green card, and I present evidence to NSSF that I'm relocating.
You've relocated,
and I can get my money.
You get your money.
Maybe that's what I want.
And your money is what you put in, what your employer put in, and what NSSF put in. That's your money.
Right. I like the fact that now I get, emails from NSSF telling me about how much money I have. But for the benefit of people who do not have, say, access to email,
right?
How can they access that information? How do I know how much money I have? How do I follow my account?
Very easy. If you have got your phone, it could be Kabiriti, it could be the iPhone. Just put in 6773, which is the NSSF numbers, and then you put in your NSSF number, your date of birth, your name, you send it. Within 24 hours, we'll respond with a PIN that allows you then to use the same phone to access now your balance. And you can do that day in, day out. If you're in Karamoja, you're in Moyo, you're in Kampala, you can actually access and know how much money you have.
I get the feeling 24 hours is quite long. If I want to know now, I'm probably at the line filling in something, and I just, No,
but
what's the rapid response?
No, the issue is when you send it, you have to verify that information that it's you who actually actually is asking for that information. So before we give you access, we go through certain security checks that allow us to verify that the person who is asking for the information is the individual who should get that information.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Well, one final question, and you talked about verification of information, and we've been asked from time to time again, Brian, please come in and update your details. What is that I'm updating yet? I've been with you, it's the same account, maybe changing employers.
No, not really. What happens is interesting that sometimes when you started work, you're 21, out of the university, 23, 24, you're single. So the closest person to you was your mother.
Yes. That was my next of kin.
Now you are 30 years. The closest person to you
is my wife.
Your wife.
Yes.
But you never updated it. Now you see you have a problem. So what we have to do is, as your life changes, we need to be able to reflect that so that if anything happens or we need to get in touch with somebody, we know who you've entrusted your savings with. That's why you need to update it.
All right, fantastic. Well, I hope if you're at home and you're watching us, you can head over to any NSSF office and update that information. You have bought into Umeme and you wanted to build all these apartments for low-cost housing. Any particular investments that NSSF has made that shows value and kind of helps us know that our money is safe.
I think Umeme is interesting because up until about last year, Umeme was owned 100% by Actis, which is a non-Uganda company. Through NSSF now, we have 500,000 Ugandans who are members, at least owning part of Umeme. So we're trying to take it back, and I think that's good for the country.
Right.
And as for housing, we are going to be developing Loboa, Temangalo, so that our members can be able to basically afford and at least buy some of these houses as we work through. So in a way, we want our members to be secure when they get to it, but to give them a chance to buy some of these properties as they come along.
Right. Any information, you can visit nssf.nssfug.org or a toll-free number. Do you have a toll-free?
Yes, we sure do. The toll-free number is actually 0800-286-773. And we'll give you all the information that you need.
Alright. We'll be putting that number on our Facebook page and our Twitter handle, and you can also follow NSSF on Twitter at NSSFUG, and their Facebook page is NSSFUG. Alright, thank you so much, Patrick, for coming this morning. And in a couple of minutes, I'm going to be talking radiology with Dr. Rosemary Byanyima Kusara from Mulago Hospital, who is a senior consultant radiologist. Coming up on Everyday Life. Good morning.
Thank you.
This is New Close-Up Deep Action. We created it to give the world 3 times fresher breath and eliminate up to 99% of germs. Maybe we went too far. There's an outbreak of freshness. Now the best ever from Close-Up. 3 times fresher breath.
Are you and I ever gonna have a chance to be sisters?
We want the baby to have my name.
Would that be okay?
I'm having your jam? Yes, especially since I thought you were shunning all things Newman. I have my own reasons for showing up.
What did you say about him?
I'm sorry, I attempted rape.
Okay, look, whatever you think you know about him, you don't know his heart.
If there is a way to make me feel more miserable, you will instinctively find it.
You gave up the one woman you loved, and now you're having a hard time figuring out how to move on? I can't imagine who would want to hurt a good man like you.
Okay, you know what? I don't need you telling me how to feel about Lily.
Are you pregnant? No. Then why are you trying to alienate Tyler?
Has something happened between the two of you? Are you afraid that I'm going to do something to ruin your marriage, or not you?
Why don't we have a party? I'll bring Nikki and bring your siblings. How's that?
What are we going to do? You going to blackmail them this time, or are you going to bribe them?
Mommy's not the only one who knows how to make up a story.
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of Men.
Polygamy has been legalized across the border in Kenya.
Should the same practice be implemented in Uganda in the spirit of the East African community?
Men or people are also animals. We are from the animal kingdom. And in the animal kingdom, there are very few wild animals which are monogamous.
It has happened a lot of times that people who are drafting the law do not anticipate a change in circumstances. They don't anticipate things that will happen in the future.
Now, you're taking your girls to the most expensive schools, alright? And now the next thing you know, they are third wives.
Let them go out there, as long as at the end of the day, there's food on your table, and your children go to good schools, and you're comfortable.
Men.
Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today, changes with Orange.
Well, this morning you probably call me Dr. Brian Mlondo because I will be talking some medical terms in this place, and today we're going to focus on a medical specialty that literally employs the use of imaging to both diagnose and treat diseases that are visualized in our bodies. And to help me do that is Dr. Rosemary Yanyima Kusaba, who is a senior consultant radiologist at Malago Hospital. Good morning, Doctor.
Morning, Brian.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
I also know that you are a member of the Atomic Energy Council. What's that about?
It's a regulatory body that really regulates the use of radiation in Uganda.
Nothing like atomic bombs.
Well, not atomic bombs, but if we want to go into generation of the cleaner power using nuclear energy, then this is the body that would regulate the peaceful application of radiation.
Well, definitely we would use you to help with Iran, but this morning I want us to talk about radiology. And someone who hears that will ask themselves, what exactly is it? What are we talking about?
Radiology is one of the specialties in medicine. People are used to hearing about obstetrics and gynecology and medicine, pediatrics, but this is one of the specialties in medicine that uses radiation to diagnose diseases. So we diagnose diseases, then we help these physicians to treat those diseases.
I know that you use so many equipment, like so much. I don't know if it's one where you sleep on a table and you know, I've seen that in the movie before.
Have you been into one?
Not yet, right? And I hope I don't get into one very soon. Tell us some of the different equipment that you use.
Well, we use quite a number of equipment. Of course, radiology dates back to 1895 when X-rays were discovered. So we use X-ray equipment and the more sophisticated X-ray equipment which shows images in real time. We call that fluoroscopy, where we study the intestines, the blood vessels,
That's a camera inside the person.
Well, we inject a drug or we give you a drug to take orally, and then we observe that drug as it moves through your body to see where problems are.
Wow.
Then we also have other equipment also which use X-ray, that is the CT scan. Here CT scan now is known to everybody. And then we have other equipment like the ultrasound scan, commonly known as PATV. Yes. And we have other equipment like magnetic resonance imaging, commonly known as MRI.
Yes. I've had that a little bit. Right now we're even having, say, you are a stumble along with, say, cars that are coming because they are radiated. How harmful is radiation? Some of us may not understand that.
Radiation, of course, if it's not properly utilized, it can be harmful. But the radiation we use for diagnosis of diseases really is the radiation which is such that it's supposed to be safe. But we do not take that safety for granted. We know that some form of radiation we use. By the way, even you in the broadcasting sector use radiation, but you use radiation which is of low energy. For us, we use radiation which is of higher energy.
And how do you protect your patients?
Yes, we have an obligation to protect our patients. The dose we use is very, very minimal. It may cause some excitation of the body cells, but we should be able to recover. And we also make sure that whatever investigation we do, it is justified. That's why we say you must see a physician, a medical person, to examine you, take history, and determine which investigation you require. And when you come to us with this form, which is requiring you for the investigation, we will look at the form, ourselves, those of us who are trained in radiology, and that we work as a team. I'll tell you the cadres we work with. And then we also see whether it is justified. So when you come to do the investigation, there is also another science will apply. We will make sure that the dose is the minimum required to get an image we need to diagnose the disease. And if you are not being examined, that's why we tell you, keep away. You are not supposed to get any radiation dose when you are not the one being examined. Yes, and those of us who work with radiation, we have monitors, which we wear, which well, I'm paid for getting that radiation. The dose is very minimal, it is monitored, and regularly you get a reading of the radiation dose that you have absorbed.
As the doctor?
Yes, and the scientifically recommended levels. Beyond which you say, okay, maybe this is unsafe for you, maybe you should work. But it's a bit rare, especially here, because you do not use a lot of radiation compared to the Western world.
Well, today on Morning at Ntv, it's Healthy Wednesday, and we're looking at radiology, talking some medical jargon here, and Dr. Rosemary Yaima is with us this morning. She is a senior consultant radiologist at Mulago, also a lecturer at the College of Medicine at University, and also at Bara University. And we're looking at, really understanding what this radiology is all about. Doctor, I have heard rumors that X-rays reduce lifespan. Is that true?
Well, on the contrary, I would say the X-rays will prolong your life. Then, if you have any illness and you did not diagnose it, what will happen? You did not get treatment and you probably die faster. But maybe to be a bit more serious, X-rays really did not reduce life. And I have explained to you that we try really to make sure that when we're having a examination, it is justified, and we use the minimum radiation to get a quality image, and we also protect those who are not being examined from this radiation, just in case that they get this radiation and it's not entitled to them. But in general, the X-rays may cause excitation of the cells in the body. The ones we are worried about, the reproductive cells, which are very sensitive. There are other cells in the body that are more sensitive, that we try maybe and use a bit of shielding when we are doing examination, so that those areas are not exposed. So, if when we are doing an investigation, we limit the rays to the area of interest, so that it will not cause any harmful effect. So, the X-rays
do not threaten life. They don't threaten life. You have found that was a question on Twitter. Now, is it safe for pregnant mothers to have this frequent checkups?
Pregnant mothers definitely need checkups, and we have the recommended methods of speaking to these mothers, so that we use the non-harmful radiation. Maybe I should tell you that we use two kinds of radiation in radiology. There is ionizing radiation, and X-rays are an example of that, because they are also what we call gamma rays we use. But for the pregnant mothers, normally we use the non-ionizing radiation. We recommend the pregnant mother should have ultrasound, because ultrasound is non-ionizing, it is safer. MRI is also safe, but we do not take that word safe for granted. We wouldn't want to be the first one to document harmful effects. So even then, when we are using ultrasound, MRI, we have to have a justification, and we minimize on the time of the examination, so that the mother is safe. Otherwise, the mother will be investigated.
Right. Yes. That's very good. And I want to ask you, what is the trend in Uganda, for example, Uganda and Africa, compared to Western world, of say radiologists, or is it popular? The people here?
The trend really ran. Maybe you even answer that better than me. You, the patients, when you go to your physician, you actually want telling them to request for investigation. You don't want to be treated without being investigated. Really? That is the trend, the awareness, even in Africa, even in Uganda. We know that, of course, technology is changing a lot. The Western world is using a lot of investigations, including radiology, because really radiology is the heart of modern medicine. So, to an extent that maybe the insurance companies are paying a lot of money because patients will demand to be investigated before they are given any medication. Here is also catching up. The number of centers with radiology equipment are increasing. The number of patients who require this investigation, the volumes are increasing everywhere in the public sector, in the private sector, and the complexity of these investigations is also really increasing. But of course the complexity comes with a better precision about diagnosis, and that's what we want. Yes.
I like the fact that you earlier said it must be justified, so which is good. But yes, the number of patients is increasing. The complexity of the diagnosis is becoming more precise. What about the staffing? The staffing of radiologists in Uganda. What is being done to increase those numbers?
Maybe we need to know. In radiology, we work with radiologists who are doctors who have specialized in radiology. But we also have other cadres. We have radiographers, also in some areas they are called imaging technologists. These are the technical people who operate equipment. And then we also have physicists. You know, there's a lot of physics in radiology. We have physicists who help us to monitor the radiation doses we use. But we also need biomedical engineers who look after these equipment. So, if you ask me about staffing, I would really be appreciative if the staffing across all those cadres was optimal. But it's not the case. On the contrary, I'll give you an example. In UK, there are 4.6 radiologists per 1,000 of the population. In Uganda, it's one radiologist for 850,000. Maybe we are managing because we have fewer equipment, but that's not the situation we wish to have. We wish to have more equipment because we want to diagnose diseases that affect our people, but we need the manpower. So I've only given you an example of radiologists. There are some of those other cadres where the ratios are even worse. But there are training opportunities here in Uganda and elsewhere. So I encourage people to join my profession.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to be a doctor, but chemistry plagued me, so I hope my son will do that one day. Dr. Rosemary, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And for the rest of you, visit Lambos to find out this information, and you can Google this stuff. Being able to know some of these things, and I will be talking with you. Let's continue the conversation on Twitter and Facebook. ISMA standing by with sports. ISMA Uganda very desperate to get the win come 31st. But also the news making the rounds right now is whether Van Gaal is indeed the man to take Manchester United back to its glory.
Those should be some of the stories we talk about, as Mitchell has promised for some changes to the Uganda French team. We also talk about some of the transfer targets for Louis van Gaal. It's that time of the season. I call it the silly season because everyone is linked with everyone. But I always forget my birthday, and it's November 19th. But don't forget your birthday. It might be your club. That and when you get the sport.
Well, in exactly 2 minutes, we will be getting into sport with Mabel, Isma, and I. It's 15 on to 9. Stay with us.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that? Just some business.
I came to apologize. I had no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chenow's death.
So you didn't have to kill another person.
It's not like I put anything to hide in it. Just go ahead.
Victoria, how is it like to work for Mansfield Agency?
Blood seemed to matter not. Blood. Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
I was going to my home, someone came in and
How? To get your father.
I went to the dance and was asked why. Why is it that our father is negative for us to oppose to?
Every time I find a story of assault of one person to another, I get disturbed.
Mwayambye kyewaleta suze oli bakokeza. Naze koza kimu timutya wange yanjokeza.
Kyali kyakudda muno mu lubuto.
The Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette.
The days of legal trade in slaves are history, following its abolition in the 1800s.
They tie you like this. That's when I started getting past.
Everybody has a story, but yours will only become our story when you share it.
Oluvannyuma lwa lutalo abaana bangi batwalibwa ab'ekika
bajja ne babakima
era kagende mu lukoola eyo nakisongola mu buluri bagende mu butale babalaalo okubuuza omwana y'omumanyi
tumukwate obutonde obwekonkome emukwate obutonde bwa Ebola mubuteeke mu nsigo omuzungu ayogedde palamenti muyise basajja
omulembe guno gutuusemu n'abantu n'entondo kati waliwo n'emyaka egy'entondo
waliwo yakigamba
bamugamba muŋŋambe bulungi kati munkwate empola
dokita buli akwata bayibuli ajja kusomera bintu nga ye bw'alowooza. For example, waliwo controversy yaliwo olina kubeerako kimu kubanga okusomeseza tumaze emyaka 2 tusomesa bannayuganda emirimo mulimanyi oluusi n'obusobozi obulina
kulabira abaganda baagala kabaka
her gonna have a chance to be sisters.
You want the baby to have my name?
Would that be okay?
So I'm happy you came. Yes, especially since I thought you were shunning all things Newman. I have my own reasons for showing up.
What did you say about him?
I'm sorry, I attempted rape.
Okay, look, whatever you think you know about him, you don't know his heart.
If there's a way to make me feel more miserable, you will instinctively find it.
You gave up the one woman you loved, and now you're having a hard time figuring out how to move on?
I can't imagine who would want to hurt a good man like you.
Okay, you know what? I don't need you telling me how to feel about Lily.
Are you pregnant? No. Then why are you trying to alienate Tyler?
Has something happened between the two of you? Are you afraid that I'm gonna do something to ruin your marriage, or at you?
Why don't we have a party? I'll bring Nikki and bring your siblings. How's that?
Now, what are you gonna do? You gonna blackmail them this time, or are you gonna bribe them?
Looks like Mommy's not the only one who knows how to make up a story.
Kampala has been born in the past. It's one of the favorite cities for tourists, one of the most peaceful cities. That is something that is changing.
Kale Kaihura, the Inspector General of Police, and President Yoweri Museveni, they are allies. They can only crack down or stop individual strikes and individual demonstrations. But I don't think they can stop the growth of militancy.
No holds barred.
Basically, Lukwago have particular grievances against the government. Some legitimate, some misguided. What should the police do? Of course, the police has to intervene, A, to protect the power of President Yoweri Museveni and the NRM from disruption by President Lukwago, but B, also, never forget this, to protect those ordinary people whose property gets destroyed.
With many things that they've actually been frustrated.
Opposition parties in Africa do not tend to be constructed around policy differences. FDC lacks a glue to hold its coalition of different power-hungry individuals together.
Insightful.
You see, the NRM is more divided internally than the FDC. The advantage with the NRM is it has political power.
Analytical.
I think that one of the best organized political parties in Uganda is the PPP, the People's Progressive Party of Uganda. This idea that everybody telling around the world that Africans are poor and they cannot contribute to their own political and social emancipation is crap. In fact, I think that the opposition parties in Uganda have won an election in an unfair and unlabeled ground.
Newsnight with Andrew Mwenda.
Now 10 minutes on to 9 o'clock, we're still at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. I don't know why I'm feeling good this morning. You don't know.
Is it because you came in late? No, you're
Well, yeah. Big up to the team of Morning at Ntv. You guys rock for waking up every day at 3 a.m. Yeah, some of us. I was delayed. Traffic. But Isma, right away out to sport. Uganda claims Mitchell has warned of significant wholesome changes. Give us some specifics.
I think everyone would bet that Joseph Ocha may not start the second game because God Paulison will be in the side. But that is not the only change that Mitchell is looking at. He's hoping that Dennis Onyango is back to keep goal. Dennis Onyango couldn't play over the weekend because he was featuring for his side, but beat Best Beast and they lost in that Nedbank Cup final against Orlando Pirates by 3-1. The Kalungi Mwesigo experiment didn't work, so you expect us like Kisine to return to the side. There's also expectation, there's already 3 changes. There's expectation that Tony Mawejo could make the team for the second leg, didn't play in the first one because of club engagements in Norway. That means Khalid also could drop out of the side. And then there's the issue about a fit Geoffrey Massa. So those could be 5 changes. Those are too many. I didn't actually expect Mitchell to come out and say this, that you should expect wholesome changes to the side.
And so huge,
yeah, those could be 5. And that would mean they would only have 6 starters from the players who played in the first leg against Madagascar. Would be quite a statement for Mitchell if he did that.
Well, we'll find out. Can this win the game for us?
I think they would, especially Maweje, Walusimbi, and Onyango. Those would be big changes to the side.
Okay, moving on quickly to basketball. We know that Heat leveled their series with Pacers 1-1 this morning. What adjustments did the two-time defending champions make?
I think the biggest of them was the one that has been talked about since the loss of game 1 on Sunday night. That was Udonis Haslem starting in place of Shane Bache because he needed some kind of size on Roy Hibbert on the inside. He had pounded them quite a bit, and then Norris Cole came into guard against the George Hill, which changed a bit of the game. But I think eventually it was the familiar players that won the game for the Heat. D. Wade and LeBron James scoring the last 20 points and actually scoring 22 in the fourth quarter, the combined total for the two. LeBron with 10 and D. Wade with 12, as the Miami Heat won their game 87-83 in Indiana to tie the series at 1-all, with Game 3 coming up on Saturday in Miami. They should be in the driving seat now, the two-time defending champions.
On to Man United, probably the most, it's always in the headline. Given the circumstances, Louis Van Gaal seems to have a very long shopping list. Yeah? Tell us the possibilities of that speculation.
It seems like he's walking around in the supermarket picking everything on the shelf. Reminds you of parents who don't carry their kids to shopping because the kids will pick everything and the bill will be so high. Yeah. Now, with the speculation regarding to Manchester United, there are just so many of them. But I think there are two that seem to be certainties. One of them is Luke Shaw, the Southampton left back, because they're about to lose Patrice Evra in that position. So he's one of those that is being taunted to join the team. The other one has got to be Toni Kroos. He's going into the final year of his contract at Bayern Munich, and he's not being offered a new contract at Bayern. So Bayern would rather sell him now than let him leave on a free transfer in 12 months' time. So something like that could happen. And then there are lots of others. There's Matthew Mel, someone who Louis van Gaal has admired, the Borussia Dortmund defender. There's Cesc Fabregas, who refused to join Manchester United last summer because his heart is with Barcelona. And I find this Fabregas story a bit hard to believe.
He's not getting a lot of playing time at Barcelona.
Yeah, he hasn't played as much. He played in the first part of the season, but I think faded in the second part of the season. But one thing about the Fabregas story is that when I look back at why Fabregas left Arsenal to go to Barcelona, it's hard for me to imagine that he's going to leave anytime soon. He actually took a pay cut from his Arsenal wages to join Barcelona because he wanted to go back home. He calls it home. Now, I find it hard that he will join Manchester United at this point in time. But on the other hand, I don't expect United to sign more than 4 players. I can almost swear to that. Yeah. Because there is speculation that they could sign about 10 or 11 players for 200 million. Which 100 million pounds, I don't believe they'll spend. But even if they sign 3 to 4, 5 players, that should be enough to improve the side, because they'll be playing on only one competition next one, the Premier League. I know that helped Liverpool last year. They were playing one game every 7 days, and that almost got Liverpool the league title. Yeah. So why United go and sign 10 players when they already have some quite players in Robin Van Persie, in Wayne Rooney, in Mata, in Shinji Kagawa, and all these Rafael da Silva, David De Gea. 2 or 3 additions could turn the could turn United around.
I think Man United could get Thomas Müller. That they'll be on fire. Yeah, he's a very good player.
Now, yeah, Ture is complaining that people didn't send him back the wishes. I thought that was a joke. But tell us about this.
It's become a serious story. Initially, Yature's birthday was on May 13, and he turned 31 on that day. And as they flew from England to Abu Dhabi to celebrate the Premier League title, I've seen a video where Yature is celebrating on the plane, and City sent out a tweet. City sent out a tweet wishing Yature a happy birthday. Then he arrives in Abu Dhabi. The owners of the club don't even mention it to him. They even barely greeted him, yet he's a player who everyone thinks got him the league title. Now his agent goes out and releases a story. He actually gives an interview saying Yature is not happy because they didn't wish him a happy birthday. In that moment, my first reaction was, I always forget my own birthday. That's one way of looking at it. And then second, I said, is Yature a woman? No, he isn't. It's become a serious story, because when the agent actually said that Yature was not happy because his birthday was not celebrated at Man City, Yature came out and said, don't believe everything my agent says. Then later on he goes to Twitter and said, actually, believe my agent, I'm not being treated with respect by Man City owners. He thinks he's being treated like a mercenary. But the player leave the club because of a happy birthday. I mean,
I find Yature so trivial.
Yeah. Really? Because it's about cultures. Look at it this way. Abu Dhabi, the owners of this club, the Abu Dhabi Investment Group, are Muslims, and I know Muslims are with birthdays. They find them wasteful, it's not part of their culture, and I think that's why I think they ignored it. Yature thinks he probably has a sword through his heart, so that's
where would he go? Which club would he go to?
Who doesn't want to have Yature? He's one of the best 5 players in the world. Yes. You'd want to have him.
And he's still marketable.
But I don't think he'll leave because of a birthday.
No, I find him so trivial. Really trivial. He's a great player. He should move on beyond.
So women trivial?
Are women choosing?
African proverb is coming up next.
Brian is smart. Yams are always sweet on the honeymoon. It's an Ashanti proverb.
Who eats yams on honeymoon? It's bad food, but since you're still in the honeymoon, anything is sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, you barely think about what you've been offered. Eh? You just click.
So you had a honeymoon. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I did have yams.
You can't click to the yam.
Even if you had, it would have been okay.
Probably Yaya Ture needs the yam. That's a banana. Yeah, but when you're on honeymoon, everything is good. You're still in that mode. And I ever listened to a radio talk show where a marriage counselor was saying all the joy of marriage lasts only 2 months. 2 months. After that, it's enduring.
Oh yes. But some people have made it.
We are following you.
No, I am
it's
by the way, if you're not ready emotionally and in your head, don't be married. It takes a lot of maturity. So marriage requires grown-up people. So yeah, as you get into that institution,
it's something like when you're excited about a wedding. It goes too quickly. It's just one moment and it's gone.
Yeah.
One moment you're not married, the next you're married, and then you're on honeymoon having yams.
well, whether you're eating yams or macaroni, I hope that your honeymoon is definitely. I know a couple of people who go to the honeymoon. By the time they come back, they're no longer married. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it talks about really the maturity of marriage after the yams. What happens after that? Well, if you want your African proverbs to be profiled on this show, tell us. Facebook is open Morning at NTV, and our Twitter handle is at Morning at NTV. Catch up with Isma late at 1:30 p.m. on Omumuli, and for the rest of us, we'll see you tomorrow. Hasta la vista, baby.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
NTV, turning on your world.
A wife who you got through the office will be very insecure about you working in another place.
Always hunt up, don't hunt down.
You mean what? Go after your superior?
How dare you suggest that when a woman is aggressed against, we should look at the person who's been aggressed against?
Let the couple be. Let them sort out their issues. When they need you, then you'll come in.
Prostitution is being given a new brand.
All I know is that I connect people. Let's not choose to open our zips and do whatever our urge is, because I don't think that an urge is stronger than your will to say no.
People attach a lot of questions,